All right, so Christian and I took a trip over to my friend Chris's house today to check out his progress on his layout. And he's more into detailing and building his layout. He does have some really cool engines and rolling stock though. He's not as big into collecting as he is in making realistic looking parts to his collection, weathering locomotives. Like, one might think this is destroyed or damaged, but I think this is amazing. This is a 2021 Lionel Legacy Pacific engine, nickel plate road war bonds version, and he's just totally upgraded this engine from the very front, where he's added the tank onto the front and some details and some flags. If we look down the side here, a lot of weathering, a lot of great detail. If you look at the detail here, he has totally removed what Lionel had, put in a new piece and put in this line, which is like a spring. He has taken and reduced the gap between the tender and engine, and it runs fine, and added the plate, which is a very cool detail. And he takes and puts in more detailed engineers. Changed generator, took out the rope on the little plastic. Well, actually this engine didn't even come with one, because my Pacific doesn't have one at all either. But he added the detailed rope for the bell and also for the whistle. Very cool. As I said, generator's totally different style. Look at that, it's got a valve on it, a lot more detailed than what comes factory. If you look at the tender, it's added some piping and a valve down here, and it's weathered as well. And let's talk about one of my favorite cars he's just made. Check this out. So he took O-scale horses, cut them down, then used a Dremel on the inside and made ribs. And this looks like you have hogs hanging in this refrigerator, in this reefer car. So really cool, next level detail. And this layout is modeled like right at the time of World War II, New York Central. So if you look, everything has a whole lot of detail. This is his yard and a lot of his industrial area. A lot of lights, a lot of figures. Here's another really detailed New York Central 280. He's got some railroad ties on the front, chained up there. Added a tank, added a bunch of valves, more piping, same thing. Here's a rope to pull the bell, upgraded cab figures. When you look at the details around, he's got some crows hanging out on the road here. His ice house is just off the chart. Look at the weathering and detail. He has the little chutes for the ice to go down into the top of his reefers. A little Railway Express Agency work shed. Then check out these trucks. I just really love these trucks. Old school. And this tank truck, you have a driver that has fallen asleep while his tank truck was filling with water, and it's overflowing all over the place. Very cool detail there. Nice water tower. Let's go back to some of these box cars. Every box car has something unique in them. So this one has a hobo having some lunch. This one, he added the sides so that it could be a grain car hauling grain, and you have some birds picking away at the grain. This one has a hobo. He's having a little beverage, getting a little tipsy. This one has a couple tanks and barrels in it, on pallets strapped down. Very cool. This one has a hobo and his best friend just hanging out. So we can keep going. So more groceries. Another really cool building, Wilson Dairy. Then you have Tootsie Roll sign on this handmade building here. He prefers to use like wood kits. He does buy some pre-made buildings, but he builds a lot of wood kits. Look at his engine shed. And if you take a look at this truck, look at the equipment on the back of this truck and the detail of the truck. Headlights are on. You know, guy and his dog sitting there in the yard building. And then he has a really detailed crane set up here. So there's a work car, there's the crane, flat car with bulldozer, another flat car with a tractor. There's his yard scene. You have a photographer here taking it all in, taking some photos. There's the front of his dairy where the train would load up. Then he's taken these gondolas and bent the sides of them so it looks more realistic, like the cranes have been hitting it and dropping stuff on the sides. You have a hobo looking on as the yard master chases the hobo around here. Then if we go around here, we get to his farm scene. So he has a barn. He's got a little rat trying to find its way in there. Good detail inside the barn itself. Got the farmer, but his favorite cow there. Then you have a stock car, 2-level. There's your livestock. He has pigs, cows. The little rope here. You got some hands just leaning around on the gate talking while they're putting the livestock in the pen. Look at the chickens there in their coops or their crates. Then there's a coaling tower. That was a Lionel. He's just done a lot of detail work on it. It's the Nickel Plate Road hoppers. A lot of cool signs throughout the layout. You know, just really gives you a feel like you're in this old town. Then you got someone taking a bath up there, taking a swim. Then his little oil pump and tank, very cool. He's got a New York Central tanker. Then I love the little stops on the rails, so pretty cool there. Then you have 3-finger sawmill. Probably this is my favorite part of this whole layout, all the detail that has to do with the logging. So you have the finished product lumber yard where they can pick up the finished products. And then you have guys loading lumber to ship there. Then he took in-scale trucks and took them apart to make this rail that delivers the logs onto into the sawmill to cut into lumber. His crane is very detailed. You see the log being lifted out of the water there and the water dripping off the log. You have peg leg Pete there driving the boat that's pushing the logs over to the crane. You have a little tugboat, a couple cranes, waterfall, log flume. Check out this log flume. So it comes down the side of the mountain. There's a log splashing into the water and they're being unloaded off of the flat cars from the shay, the log carriers. Then he has 2 oxes and a log cart up there, lumberjack chopping down a tree. And this is an on 30 shay. We'll see that on the other side. It's really detailed. So we come over here and he's just started working on his city a little. Guy fell off a ladder there with his bucket of paint. This will be his main street. Then here's some more of his engines. Like I said, he doesn't have a whole lot of engines. It's mainly New York Central. And he weathers a lot of stuff to make it look realistic. Sound like Chris and Christian over there talking. Now, this is another really cool scene. This is a scrapyard. Look at this crane for the scrapyard. Look at all the detail of the scrapyard, the bulldozer, all the tracks in the mud, the office. And the office actually has some pinups in there on the wall. The clock, good detail inside the office, wood stove. Very cool detail there. A couple more locomotives that have been really detailed out and weathered. You have a gentleman here, hunter, going to hunt down the raccoon that keeps getting into his trash cans. And there's his dog down here barking up the tree. So here's top of his mountain, and here's his on 30 shay. There's a lot of detail in this work caboose. Look at all the axes for the lumberjacks. And here's the disconnect cars with the log loads. And here's where some lumber's been cleared. There's the lumberjack just chopping away. No chainsaws here. This is the 30s. So, you know, you still have an ox up here carrying the wood over to the shay. And here's the shay, very detailed, very cool. Looks very realistic. On 30, you do get away with that a lot. There's some really detailed layouts out there using on 30. But he's even loading the log into the firebox. So really cool there. Let me come over here to the far side of the mountain. You have the eagle soaring. There's Peg Leg Pete again. There's the other side of the crane. There's the other side of Three Finger Sawmill. Here's a couple bridges that have been weathered going into his tunnel there. And here's another building. It's really cool. And look at this coaling tower in the pit underneath. Really good detail. He's added a lot. This was a Lionel tower, but he's modified it. Then there's some Railway Express. There's a 773 Hudson and a Mohawk. They're the Century Club 773, and the Mohawk is like the American made one that was TMCC. Wasn't super detailed, but he dressed it up and put it in the yard. Here's another scene, loading dock for some freighters. And you got a little sign here. Another water tank tower. So, and sand. So, pretty cool stuff. Hopefully you enjoyed this. I get a lot of inspiration by seeing what he does. He's like one of the guys that I've met in the past few years since I started in railroading, or O-gauge railroading in 2017. And he sort of like started doing detail work at the same time. And he's just super good at it. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and talk to you next time.